Essa ideia não posso, nem eu acho que nem eu, nem ninguém neste preciso momento, nós aqui poderemos, de onde é que veio esta ideia.
During Entrudo, it is the mass that commands all the power. No one dares to oppose the wrath of the demonic Caretos. These masked demons attack the women and rehearse a somewhat erotic dance by shaking their waist and rattling the bells hung from their hips.
Yeah, so the best way to explain it is just how traditional things are here. They are still done the same way they were done 50 years, 100 years ago. So that's basically it. If you want to see just how old something is and how it used to be done, there are these places. It's the only place where you can still find it.
Ai, Jesus. Vou lá, eu vou lá ao caixa. Oi!
Eu lembro-me quando era miúdo, quando era criança, isto era, o Entrudo era festa assim, mas não era bem uma festa. Esta festa era feita mais muitas das vezes por raivas, por vinganças.
Mr. Adão has been making these masks for over 40 years. Next after him is Mr. José, and both of these craftsmen give credit to the late Mr. Afonso, who has been dubbed the godfather of the wooden mask here in Lazarim. It is rumored that Mr. Afonso apparently was daring enough to wear a mask into the streets during the 1950s in Lazarim, where he was arrested by the state-controlled authoritarian regime Estado Novo, the new state which was the longest dictatorship in European history, lasting 4 long decades. And over centuries, the Catholic Church did everything they could to banish the tradition, but to no avail, the Caretos still exists today. So I was basically just sitting at my house and I received an email from Carlos telling me about this festival, and after showing me the photos and hearing about the traditions, I said, why not? So now I'm here right now, and this has been a pretty incredible and once-in-a-lifetime experience to be able to see something like this, and I'm very fortunate to be here. Lazarim has this mysterious, magical feel. It has a river going through the middle of it, and you can see the trees where they get the alder wood to make the masks.
Estas coisas surgiram, foram os nossos antepassados, que eles já faziam, o nosso Carnaval já era uma tradição da aldeia.
Some years ago, villagers would bar their windows and doors, afraid that chaos might transpire. And the violence of yesteryear only survives in the stories that the elderly like to tell.
Foi senhora.
Ah, sei.
E depois uma rapariga com um acidente apalpou umas mamas. E eu apalpei as dela.
Claro.
Quando me virei para trás, ela pega numa pedra, dá-me aqui na coluna, e eu não me apertei porque não calhou.
Stories of Caretos running around with rabbit skin and pig bladders, pouring wild ants collected in bags all over their victims. Even Caretos breaking into houses and overturning pots that boiled food for the family that lived there. But these barbaric customs were abandoned a long time ago. Located about an hour northeast closer to the border of Spain is the village of Podence. Recently declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site, this is the most popular Entrudo gathering among the people living in Portugal and Spain. Here they are known for their red, green, and yellow attire. The main target of these Careto groups are single girls, which brings them to the top of the walls and verandas for a quote-unquote tinkling. The girls of the village only went out onto the street stealthily, as the punishment used to be much more severe. The ritual rattling, even if more refined, was a lot more rough. There is a Careto saying that translates to, behind the brass mask, the eyes on fire often seek the most desirable girls. In the old times, Caretos were primarily men, but these days a lot of young women are dressing up to keep the tradition alive. These villages prepare all year for the Entrudo festivities, and the Caretos that participate must come from the village or have a direct connection with it. One thing that is for certain is that no one knows the origins of the festival, which makes it that much more mystifying. It is the night before the festival, and both the Caretos and the craftsmen are worried because a downpouring of rain is in the weather forecast, and the mass are still not finished.
Esta é, só falta fazer o resto da barba. Aquela que não. Já estava me enganando. É isto que eu digo, não se pode descontrolar, porque senão, pô.
Trabalhado, quanto mais trabalhadas elas ficam bonitas, mas dão muito trabalho. Quanto mais trabalho tiverem uma máscara, mais tempo demora.
It is the morning of the festival, and regardless of whether it will rain or the mass are finished, the show must go on. The Caretos arrive with their costumes and begin preparing for the big Entrudo festivities. Meanwhile, the craftsmen are still in their shops, hard at work putting the last final touches on the wooden masks. People start arriving to the village and filling up the streets until there is no parking left. Alas, the dark rain clouds begin to part and the sun begins shining onto the village of Lazarim. Then, the chaos begins. The burning of the Wicker Man signals the end of the festival. This might look familiar to some. I definitely feel like the north of Portugal has a completely different feel than the rest of the country. There's an authenticity and pureness here that kind of feels like it hasn't been influenced by the outside world as much. The spirit of Carnival is this very thing, a moment of transition and social renewal. A kind of cathartic liberation that symbolically overcomes the instituted hierarchies and oppression. It is the relationship between the profane and the sacred, the devils and the angels, that Carnaval is fed. As they told everyone in Lazarim, tomorrow we are all saints. This is the only place where the devil is beautiful. After the festival, this guy named Paulo, who was cooking in one of the tents, started serving me some drinks called aguardente, which is basically a high-proof brandy that he had made. And next thing I know, we're wandering the village, eating some feijoada that the elders had been cooking in the village all day, which was absolutely incredible. I don't remember a ton of it because the aguardente was very strong, but I immediately felt at home, and it was an incredible experience that I'll never forget. If you want to see more content about Portugal, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button.